Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. As Dave said, my name is Mike Mahannah. I'm with Terillium as the NetSuite practice leader. And for the next about 20 minutes, I'm going to share a little bit about Terillium and then show you NetSuite, one of our favorite platforms here. So a little bit about Terillium. We're going on 26 years of ERP consultants, and so we've been around for a long time. Big practice as far as the J.D. Edwards, but the NetSuite practice is growing like crazy, and so we're really excited about that. A little bit about who does the work for us. We've got more than 170 full-time consultants. They are all U.S. based and really spread out through the United States. Terillium's here based in Cincinnati, but we're all throughout the U.S. to support our customers. We are a Oracle partner, a pure Oracle partner, so we don't sell any competing products. Like I said, we started off with J.D. Edwards and also serve the cloud and NetSuite practices. We've got quite a few different awards over those 26 years. Customers were really happy with what we've done, and Oracle's been pretty happy with us and achieved, like I said, about 16 different awards as an Oracle partner. And then let's not forget about our clients. We've got over 700 clients throughout the U.S. Who really focus on Terillium as their trusted advisor, not only for their implementation of their ERP, but the ongoing maintenance and development of it. And, like David indicated, the business processes that we put in during the implementation and don't remain static. So if those companies that continue to grow, they're looking for that trusted partner, and Terillium is that for more than 700 clients. Who are we serving? We've got quite a few different customers across multiple verticals, and we've got a list of them there. Some of them are young startup companies, and all the way up to multi-billion a year in revenue industries. So great companies to serve. It's definitely been fun for us to see those companies go from those startups to grow to the larger sizes. And so what are we going to focus on today? We know NetSuite. We're going to show you the NetSuite solution. We think it's a very modern platform, and so we're going to tell you a little bit about that. But what about NetSuite? They're an Oracle partner, or I'm sorry, an Oracle application. They've got over 8,000 employees globally. NetSuite itself is probably the largest largest ERP solution. They've got 21,000 customers worldwide, and just even within the last 12 months, they've got 4,800 new logos, so new companies that are signing on with NetSuite. So, it's a pure SaaS-based solution. It was born in the cloud and has continued to develop in the cloud, so it definitely is a unique aspect of the solution itself. I mentioned, the 21,000 plus customers across a variety of verticals. So hopefully you're seeing your vertical there. We're proud to represent all of those and be involved in really those different verticals. The wholesale distribution and manufacturing are probably the largest there, but we do see quite a bit across the software, retail, and then the services division. So again, just really diverse product portfolio that NetSuite's been involved in. What about the back end? So let's take a look at NetSuite as a solution. Like I said, it was born in the cloud, completely SaaS-based. It is a single data source. There are not multiple databases connected to each other. It does offer not only the ERP financials, which is really where it began, but it offers CRM as well as e-commerce shipping and distribution. I think what's great is it gives you an entire customer life cycle. So if I can see the customer from a prospect to a lead and when they become a customer, and then when we have orders, I can see all of that in a single data source. not only does that streamline some of the processes, but it also gives you a full insight into it in a single data source. It does have multi-currency, so if you have multiple operations in different serve different currencies, you can handle that, as well as multi-language, so it can reach a variety of customers. Multi-subsidiary is a big one. So obviously, if we're reaching out internationally, or even just within the U.S. and Canada, it'll handle multiple subsidiaries, and then also, some of the multi-country tax compliance. So it's a well-rounded solution that, again, kind of serves a variety of markets for them. Obviously, we generate data in the ERP, and then we need to consume it. And so NetSuite has over 300 BI components available. It is a browser-based solution, and so that's probably the most common form that people interact with it. But it is touch-enabled, so if you have an iPad, you can navigate through that, and then it has a mobile app. So all different ways to consume data. No matter where you are, you have the ability to connect with NetSuite. We are a official NetSuite partner. Like I said, we're a pure NetSuite player. We do a variety of services, or provide a variety of services to our customers. We evaluate the existing clients that are looking at, how do they improve their existing solution, and then we also sell new license or new software. We implement it, and then we also offer ongoing services. So it's a full breadth of options for anyone that is looking at or is currently using NetSuite. And so we're pretty proud about that, and excited to show you a little bit more about it. All right, so let me jump into NetSuite and show you guys a little bit. So share my screen here. Okay. That is sharing there. All right, so we're now looking at the NetSuite instance here, and we're logged in to the instance. You can see up here in the top right, I'm logged in as Cameron Murdoch, who is a CFO. So again, I'm accessing it from a browser, but same thing with the mobile devices. But when you log in, you'll log in within a specific role, and that role is assigned to each individual. And that controls what areas they can see and what data they can consume. And so as I navigate through here, a couple different things that I want to point out. You'll see up here in this search bar, to me, this is the Google of NetSuite. So if I'm looking for a specific record or a specific payment or activity, I can come in here, and as I type, NetSuite will go in and start looking for all the records. It could be invoices, it could be bill payments, and you can see as I type, just it popped up a variety of things here. And so it's a very powerful tool to kind of jump to what you're looking for. You also have a variety of other tools that are really helpful, and so if I come over here, I can see a variety of recent records. So right now, I refreshed my cookies in this environment, so there's nothing in there right now, but I'll show you that in another role, some of the features that you can see with the recent records. We do have also the favorites. So if you're someone that jumps around and wants to look at invoices and then looks at sales orders or customer records, and you want to go back to that specific customer, you can do that with your recent records here. I'm starting with the end in mind. I started off with the CFO role, and one of the things obviously they're going to focus on is our financial statements. And so I'm going to show you some of the unique aspects about the capabilities within NetSuite. So here we're looking at an income statement, pretty standard looking income statement, but with the capabilities here, I can change how this looks. So right now we're looking at a total of all the income from January of 2020 to August of 2020, and we're looking at a specific subsidiary. So I mentioned about the subsidiaries, and we're looking at the U.S. subsidiary. I can combine multiple subsidiaries and do a consolidated look at, but I'm looking at just the U.S. operations right now. And let's say that I wanted to see, well, how am I doing, from month to month? So I take this one report, and I don't have to go anywhere else. I just simply change this, and I do it by accounting period. I come over here and click refresh. And now the system will display my income statement by accounting period. So I can see month over month how we did in revenue. And if I look at the numbers, we had a nice progression as we continue along, but then we had a big jump in June. And you'll see as I hover over that, I can drill down into that record and see what those actual transactions are that were impacted that revenue for June. Another way that you could use this report here is I can also choose by other dimensions. And so I can say, you know what, I want to see how we did by department. So departments might be sales, operations. And so if I choose that option, when I click refresh, it still takes the same report, but now shows me all of the information by department. So I've got administration, engineering, operations, and production. And so I've just shown you 3 different what would be considered unique reports in your existing or in a legacy system, and how they could easily be displayed. And it really allows me as a CFO to kind of analyze the business and ask questions that maybe I couldn't ask before, or ask questions that it took hours or days to kind of consume the information. So it's a very powerful tool. If I come back to, let me close this. If I come back to the dashboard, a couple different things, more ways to consume data. There are a variety of portlets. One of them is this reminders portlet. And so this is, hey, Mike, what are the things that you need to focus on today to do your job? And as a CFO, I may have expense reports to approve. As a warehouse person, I might have orders to receive or orders to ship. And so these are set up for roles, and it kind of says, this is what you should be focusing on. But focusing on the BI piece, one of the things that NetSuite puts in their portlets is this KPI portlet. And it's a very powerful tool because by default, NetSuite has produced these KPIs, and they're available to me, but I can add to them for things that I want to focus on in my specific role. But again, these are all standard within NetSuite. And when I look at this, I originally said, you know what, I want to look at, revenue period over period, or payables today versus the same day last month. And so there are, probably 10 different KPIs that we're looking at in a variety of reports. What NetSuite has provided, though, is a way to analyze it and say, you know what, I want to look at things just a little bit differently. And so in my scenario, I want to come in here and say, you know what, I want to actually look at this quarter over quarter. So this quarter versus last quarter. When I click done, it goes through all the portlets and now has a quarterly view of what the records are here. And so now I've taken 10 KPIs and I've made 20, because now I'm looking at, instead of a month over month, I'm looking at this fiscal quarter versus last fiscal quarter. And just like we saw on the income statement, I have the ability to drill down into each one of these data points. I can drill in to see what that 2.6 million is. And once I'm done with this, I can come right back up and say, you know what, I want to go back to my regular view. And I just click the portlet date settings, and it goes back to the view that we had before. Okay. So again, very powerful BI tool for us to consume data. Let me transition. Kind of the focus of the is inventory, and so I'm actually going to change roles here, and I'm going to go in as a purchasing manager. And so normally, you wouldn't have the CFO role and a purchasing manager, but for the demo today, I do. And so this is Michelle Wright. Michelle is a purchasing manager, and this is the same dashboard functionality that we saw in the CFO, but it's specific to her as a purchasing manager. And again, NetSuite has created all of these dashboards, and these are available day one. You don't have to create these. They're available day one when you start using NetSuite. Obviously, you'll have to have data for it to be valuable, but it is available day one. And going back, looking at the reminders, I can see that I've got purchase orders to approve, assemblies to order, and then items to order. And so these are all things that are very powerful ways to let me know how well I'm performing the activities that I need to do to keep the operations running. Let's take a look. Actually, let me show you one more thing here. So each one of these menu options has their own dashboard. So right now, this is Michelle's home dashboard when she logs in. But if I go to the inventory, I am now looking at a dashboard for inventory. And so all the inventory data that I have access to is now available for me to consume. And so if I have, graphs like this one that shows top 15 inventory sales. Well, what was my biggest one? Oh, it was the Brocade extension switch. And so I can drill down into that and see the actual sales this month to date for that Brocade switch. And so it's, again, a very powerful way as a jumping point to consume data within NetSuite. You get a variety of other reports, and as you move along, you can kind of see the information and allows you to consume that. All of this can be configured, so if I said, you know what, I want to actually move this up, this is more important to me, I can move things around. And so now the inventory links are sitting on top. So it makes it very easy for people to consume data in the ways that they're most comfortable with and that makes the most sense to them. I'm going to go ahead and click on the home dashboard. So it takes me back to where I started off when I first logged into NetSuite. And I want to talk about demand planning. So within NetSuite, on all of our items, we can say, hey, here's the order point or here's the min-max, and those are manual calculations. But within NetSuite, once you get enough activity in there, you can have it start to recommend different methods or you recommend quantities that you should maintain. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So over here in the demand planning, I can calculate the item demand. And so let's take a look at that. So I'm going to click on this here. And NetSuite is allowing me to say, you know what, for all of these items that are not manually calculating what the order point, order quantity, or the min-max should be, for those ones that you've said, let's use automation, it's going to display those items, and it will allow us to assign a specific method to it. So we're looking at the U.S. subsidiary, and I would say, you know what, I'm going to look at the Las Vegas location. It will only show me the inventory items that are associated at that location for that subsidiary. And then NetSuite provides us 4 different ways to assign the projection method. So linear regression basically says, all right, what is the kind of straightest line of growing demand that we would have? And so it uses a linear progression. Moving average says, okay, let's take whatever time frame that you tell me to go back and look, average that out, and that's what we should be using for our demand. Sales forecast. So if you have amazing salespeople and amazing sales pipeline that gets managed, you can definitely use a sales forecast. And what that does is it says, all right, tell me what quotes are out there and what opportunities are out there for upcoming sales, and use that as part of the demand. And so there's another way to do that. And then the final one that they have is seasonal average. And so what NetSuite does with this one is it tries to look at it and says, okay, there's going to be a spike somewhere in here, and it analyzes that. So those are the 4 methods that you can select. And for each item, you would select that specific method. And so one item only gets one projection method. The projection interval, so we can either choose monthly or weekly. So if I'm going to purchase, it's going to tell me, all right, on a weekly basis, you need this many. On a monthly basis, you need this many. And so you would define that as well. And then the projection duration. How far in advance do you want us to project? 3 months, 6 months? So you can see what that demand looks like within that time frame. And then one of the final things that you have here is analysis. How far back do I want to go? So I would recommend if you guys started day one that you at least have 3 months of sales history to have the analysis. But 6 months is probably a better, you'll get more accurate. And these are recommendations. Here, I see what you're recommending, NetSuite, but I'm going to choose a little bit different quantity. So they are just recommendations, but you can, use that automation to purchase. So it'll go back and look at it. NetSuite also acknowledged that sometimes when I bring a new item on, I may have a similar item that has that history, and so if they give you this alternate source item. So I sell item A, item B I'm just bringing on, but it's going to behave probably a lot like item A. So use that history from a recommendation perspective to generate your actual recommendation. So this is the kind of step one, which is calculating the item demand. From that, we would actually create an item demand plan. And let's come over here and take a look at, here I'm kind of showing you the recent records here. And so I've got an item that has this specific demand plan. So let's take a look at that. And so for this item demand plan that was generated, NetSuite's going in there, and you can see here I've specified that this was a seasonal average item. And from that recommendation for the periods that are coming up, it's basically saying, yep, we are calculating these values. So this is kind of what we're estimating is going to be the monthly calculated demand based upon the seasonal average for this particular item. Okay, and so again, you can kind of look at that. You can modify it as needed, but again, it's the recommendation there. So I've got the item demand. Now, once I do that, then ultimately it's going to say, all right, now what's my supply? What do I need to buy for this particular item? And so let's take a look at a item supply plan. So we're going to go to the same thing. So let's go to demand plans and item supply plans. And I want to take a look at this item here, this BTS laptop assembly. So this is, NetSuite has come in and said, I think that, go back, choose this other one here. I think your demand or your supply should be these quantities. So on a regular basis, here are the quantities that we recommend that you purchase. In this case, this is actually an item that I manufacture, and so it's recommending that I create a work order for these quantities in each of these specific weeks. So a nice little feature for that to demonstrate the work order capabilities. If I go back and look at the list, here's this item here. Sorry to kind of jump around on you. This is that item that we were looking at before. So for this item, the supply plan for the specified periods, as we look at this, we've got a little bit, little quantities, and there's that seasonal demand for us right at the end of the year through February, and then it just drops off again, and then has a kind of a steady rate there. And so this is the supply plan for that, and you look at that and you say, yep, I think that makes sense. And then once you create those purchase orders, it will tell you that. And so from here, if I go up to here, I can actually tell the system, go ahead and order these items, and it will allow us to generate that supply plan for us. So, okay. So those are the demand, which we're calculating the item demand. seeing the demand plan and then evaluating the supply plan for that. So a nice little feature there. And then, looking back on, okay, I had those items that I needed to make. So if I come over here to manufacturing, I can mass create these work orders. And so when I do that, the system's going to come in and say, all right, for the inventory quantities you need to build these particular items. And here are the quantities that we recommend based upon that demand that we've seen. And so you can see NetSuite's going through, and I can come in and say, well, I know that something else is coming up, and we actually need 20 of those. And so you get the flexibility to still have that, the ability to adjust it as necessary, or if you know there's some activity coming up, you can definitely do that. So, all right. So those are kind of the different ways using NetSuite's automated demand plan and supply plan ways that you can automate that. So